Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would like to take an opportunity to welcome everyone here. I am Bo Catherine. I'm the chair of the Washington County Trustees Library Board. And we're here this afternoon to honor our favorite outgoing retiring librarian of 26 years. And be thinking about some things. We have some opportunity for some of you individuals who would like to share some anecdotes or some life memory moments that might go back a day or two that would be entertaining for us, and we appreciate that. But it is a wonderful opportunity to have everyone here. I'm just so excited to have it, and I'm sure Charlotte is. And we're truly been blessed with her for 26 years, and we're going to miss her, but we certainly do. We sure will. And we have a lot of people that share some things this afternoon, and I'm going to move on with this. And at this time, we have our very own Heidi Patton is going to come up and share some opportunities for Charlotte, and we'll be able to pass this on. So, Heidi, if you would come on, please.
Thank you, and it's so great to see everyone. I have a resolution to read from the Library of Virginia. But before I do that, I would just like to make a couple of comments. I want to say to Charlotte that I am forever grateful to you for the opportunity that you gave me to come here to work. It was just a wonderful experience for me, and I got to live in the wonderful town of Abingdon and still live here, and that pleases me a great deal as well. I will say that Charlotte and I go back quite a few years. I was at the State Library for 35 years, and in 1995 I decided to retire. And but I wasn't quite ready to give up working with public libraries. So Charlotte came to my rescue. She offered me a part-time job, and she even offered me a private office. And this office, some of you may have been visited me at that time, but you had to go sort of out of the library into the garage where the bookmobile was located. And then there was a little office tucked back there, but that was a great place to work. And I was there for 13 years and loved every minute of it. It was just great. Right now, I'm a happy library user. I continue to love the library a lot. It's just been a real privilege for me to see how the library has developed over the years, and I give Charlotte lots and lots of credit for that. She came at a very pivotal time, in the library's development, and I think technology, she embraced that immediately. But most importantly, I think she brought her vision for how the library could enhance the entire community. And I think she stayed true to that vision too. Her achievements to me have been enormous in number and in scope, occurring not only on the local level, but on the regional and the state level as well. And this resolution that I'm going to be reading from the State Library, the Library of Virginia, highlights some of those. So I'll go ahead and start that. Okay. The Commonwealth of Virginia, Library of Virginia, a resolution in honor of the retirement of Charlotte Parsons. Lots of whereas now. Whereas Charlotte Parsons has served since 1993 with great distinction as the director of the Washington County Public Library, headquartered in Abingdon, Virginia. And whereas during her tenure at the Washington County Public Library, she has experienced exceptional growth in visitations, circulation, collections, children's services, public programming, staffing, and outreach, and has extended the library's presence far beyond its walls through partnerships with 25 different community groups. And whereas she oversaw the physical expansion of the Washington County Public Library through the addition of the new building in Damascus, new branch service in Hyder's Gap, and major renovations at the main library and the Mendota and Glade Spring branches. And whereas she has been a catalyst for improving technology in libraries and was the first in her region to offer free public access to the internet in the Washington County Public Library. Understanding that a community cannot thrive without this vital connection to the outside world. And whereas she was instrumental in establishing the Washington County Public Library Foundation and in reactivating the Friends of the Library of the Washington County Public Library, organizations that provide invaluable private support for the library. And whereas she helped to form the Holston Associated Libraries, HAL Group, whose members leverage their resources by sharing administrative services, technology, and an automated library system. And she has served as president of SWING, which began as a library consortium in southwestern Virginia and is now the Mid-Atlantic Library Alliance with members in 7 states. And whereas she has been an effective statewide library leader, serving as legislative chair and then president of the Virginia Public Library Directors Association, encouraging all who care about libraries to make their voices heard at the local and state level. And whereas she is a passionate and tireless advocate for the role of the public library in the 21st century, and whereas she is retiring from her position as Director of Washington County Public Library at the end of September 2019, having made an indelible mark on the library, her community, and all who have known and worked with her. Now be it resolved on this 29th day of September 2019 that the Library of Virginia recognizes Charlotte Parsons for her outstanding leadership and services, and be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to Charlotte Parsons on the occasion of her retirement as a token of the Library of Virginia's appreciation and gratitude for her service, and with all best wishes for success in her future endeavors. And it's signed by Sandra G. Treadway, Librarian of Virginia, and Nan Carmack, Director, Library Development and Networking.
Thank you, Ms. Patton, for presenting that on behalf of the Library for the State of Virginia. At this time, we have another resolution that's going to be presented by the Washington County Board of Supervisors and Vice Chair, Ms. Allison Mays, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Allison Mays, Vice Chair of the Washington County Board of Supervisors, and it's our pleasure to be included today in this wonderful celebration of Charlotte's retirement. I think I could say that the majority of us will definitely miss our annual budget battles. We appreciate the passion you bring in your defense and fighting for the library. I know your fervent supporters are here today, including myself and Mr. Dwayne Ball, Mr. Mike Rush, Mr. Phil McCall, and Mr. Randy Bennington. So thank you again for including us. And now I'd like to read a resolution that was passed by the Board of Supervisors honoring Charlotte. Resolution 2019-22, honoring Charlotte L. Parsons for her services as Library Director upon her retirement. Whereas Charlotte L. Parsons has served Washington County as the Director of the Public Library for 26 years, beginning in April 1993 through September 2019. And whereas Ms. Parsons was influential in the implementation of the Washington County Library Foundation in 1996, which is a library support group that raised substantial funds through annual campaigns and the Tisket Tasket fundraiser. And whereas Ms. Parsons actively led Washington County to become the part of the Holston Associated Libraries Incorporated, a nonprofit consortium of 2 academic and 2 public libraries located in the Appalachian Highlands of Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee. And whereas Ms. Parsons supervised the renovation of the Hiders Gap branch in 2009, the construction of a new library building in Damascus in 2012, and the renovation of the Glade Spring branch in 2016. And whereas Ms. Parsons was instrumental in obtaining grant funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities, National Endowment for the Arts, and Virginia Humanities Foundation to bring special literary programs and opportunities to our residents. Now therefore be it resolved, the Washington County Board of Supervisors hereby honors Ms. Charlotte Parsons for her service to the citizens of Washington County, Virginia. Thank you, Charlotte. You'll be
Thank you, Allison, for reading that for us, please. At this time, I would like to introduce Carol Fields, who's going to have a tribute to Charlotte this time, and she's going to give us a history lesson, I believe.
Uh-oh.
So I can see her. Well, good afternoon, and thank everybody here for coming. Thank you so much to such a wonderful tribute for someone who we will miss as a director, but we hope to see more informally. My name is Carol Fields, and I am the current president of Book Lovers Club of Washington County, which gathered on September 15th, 1914 to begin forming this library 105 years ago. The 22 ladies that are listed in the club's first minutes were far ahead of their time, especially when we consider the written words of their first president, Mrs. Alexander Stewart, who stated, quote, "Our reasons for entering into this club are twofold. In the pleasure we will derive ourselves from the course of reading and study before us, and the benefit we may make to others by the establishment of a library for general use. None need to feel too modest to do her share, for we all realize that we are organized not to display knowledge, but to acquire it, remembering that the exchange of ideas does not always mean agreement in opinion, but that it is by getting the viewpoint of others that we widen our horizons and learn to live and let live, so to speak, words that we all can benefit from today. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of this library and show you how relevant it is right up to the present. The first library opened on September 1st, 1915 on the bottom floor of Mrs. M.E. Davidson's home, which is across the street, even now, from the Abingdon United Methodist Church. Patrons paid $1 per year and students were allowed to use the library for free. In the early days, it was only open 1 or 2 days a week. The library moved 3 times before settling in its present location where we sit today. First, it moved to the small house on Pecan Street that now sports red shutters. You can go look for it. Then the upstairs of what we know as the present Barter Theater, and then to the Stonewall Jackson College building that now houses the Barter Theater costume collection. For nearly 40 years, these ladies fundraised and gave money from their own pockets to buy books, pay rent and heating, and fund a stipend for their librarian. They held bake sales, sold fudge at the local picture show, served lunch to their local Rotarian club, held card parties in local homes, and invited the public to hear famous authors speak, among many other activities. Some of this sound familiar? Finally, in 1954, Robert Porterfield donated the bottom floor of the Stonewall Jackson College building to help the library receive funding from the State Library of Virginia and become the 3rd demonstration library in the state. It was a huge success, and with its collection and patronage growing, in 1973, the library relocated to the building that we are all sitting in today. Which brings me almost to the present. For the next 20 years, the main library here continued to serve our growing county population by mainly doing what libraries historically did. They lent books and provided information to the public through newspapers, periodicals, encyclopedias, and the like, and occasionally shushed the noisy patron. But we all knew That's all we knew to expect from libraries back in BC. And when I say BC, I mean before Charlotte. In 1993, as the internet age extended to our quiet mountain town, Charlotte arrived. And now, Charlotte, I don't want you to be offended that I'm talking like you're not in the room, but I was given a task, and this is what. So, pardon me. Library patrons immediately started sensing changes. First off, Charlotte designed a cheerful spring green and iris purple library logo. Who knew that libraries had logos? She hung a bright oil painting within those colors behind her desk and recarpeted the entire library from dreary brown to a light gray purple carpet that we know today. She hung replicas of famous paintings around the walls that patrons could check out like a book. Remember that? So way back. Selecting those colors may not seem very earth-shatteringly important, but still today, when you receive in the mail an envelope bearing the library logo, your first thought is no longer, drat, they sent me an envelope with a overdue notice and I owe them money. But instead, oh, what a lovely, cheerful envelope, it looks like such fun. Subtly, but regularly, transformations kept occurring in library land, as Charlotte so often calls it. Already a popular staple, the children's programs became even more exciting. Movie nights were scheduled in the meeting room, and live performances and games were held in the parking lot during the summer reading program. Charlotte partnered with local organizations such as the Rotary Club in Kiwanis to fund these special events. We became charmed as we watched little toddlers holding on to a long ribbon be guided across the street from the preschool of the Methodist Church for their weekly children's hour. It was just wonderful. A tree sprung up in the children's section, and a bear lives there to this very day. In short, multiple new generations were learning to become excited about reading and acquiring knowledge, just as our founding ladies hoped. Now, I know it's already been mentioned, but I would like to then let you know how much these are not just words on a proclamation, but how the things that Charlotte did really touched real lives. The electronic age forever has changed the way libraries deliver information, but our library was quick to respond. The first thing I noticed was that we received new electronic library cards instead of signing our names on the back of a paper card, if you'll remember that was stuck in your book. These new library cards were also paired with a smaller key fob that you can attach to your key ring, and if lost, a benevolent person might just return them to the library front desk. The library would be able to locate the owner by scanning the barcode. I am testimony that this system really does work after I once frantically lost my keys and had them returned to the library. It's wonderful. Tons more transformations were in store for us in library land. I and my children were some of the early beneficiaries of the earliest computers in town, which sat in the middle of the library around where the checkout desk is now. After hearing that my oldest daughter had become obsessed with Celtic folklore and fairy tales, Charlotte paired her up with Joan Boone, who sat with her at a library terminal and connected to the Library of Wales, which was amazing then. I mean, even now it's amazing. But over time, my daughter had immersed herself in Celtic history, and it pretty much saved her middle school years. We can also thank Charlotte for reviving the Friends of the Library, which hold our stimulating author series and our regionally popular biannual book sales. And how much fun and how many friends have we all made by working on or attending library events such as Tisket Tasket. Now, one person whom I was discussing all these things with commented, but Charlotte didn't do all that by herself, and that is true. Which brings me to what I consider one of your finest abilities, Charlotte. Charlotte has a gift for surrounding herself with talented, knowledgeable, imaginative, and professional people. For over 2 decades, her library staffs have run our libraries with courtesy, proficiency, and cheer. Helpful is not nearly a big enough word for all the duties they perform and the favors they grant us for free. We most likely would not know them as well, if we knew them at all, without the central magnet of Charlotte. Finally, Charlotte has ensured that our entire county library system will continue to thrive. She has attracted and educated generations of discriminating patrons who continue to expect a high level of quality. In every corner of our county, our libraries have become community centers and places where ideas are exchanged and knowledge acquired, just as our founders hoped. So in closing, since Charlotte has taught us that nearly anything is possible in library land, will you all please raise your imaginary champagne glasses and join me in a toast to Charlotte.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Smith. I'm a member of the Library Board of Trustees, and it is my privilege to be here today. I won't tell any stories on Charlotte about keys found in the alley or any of that stuff. Okay? It is my privilege to introduce Mary Trigiani. That I can say that now that I've been to Italy. So, to read a letter from her sister, Andrea.
So I have something. So Adri really wanted to be here but couldn't, and so I'm her willing and happy substitute. Living here in Abingdon now for 2 years, very happy, and she sends you all, and you'll hear more of what she has to say. This is special for us because, as many of you know, our mother was a librarian, as was her twin sister. And her twin sister actually worked in libraries throughout her life, as a volunteer largely after their professional careers ended. This morning, this is kind of a sidebar before we get to Adriana's note. I was flipping through Instagram, and there was a beautiful picture on one of the sites that I follow there on Instagram, one of the accounts, of Sophia Loren, that oracle of wisdom from Hollywood and Napoli, right? And there was a quotation, and I decided, as I was raised in Wise County by great librarians, and still following Charlotte's example, one of my Sherpas here in Abingdon, I double-checked the quotation. And this was really good because it's about you. It really is, because when I read this, I was blown away. There is a fountain of youth. There is a fountain of youth. It is your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life and the lives of the people you love. That's Charlotte, I think, because she really brings that out in us. So here's what Adri had to say. Dear Charlotte, congratulations on your retirement. But for the rest of us, readers, patrons, authors, writers, students, we will be falling into a blue period of sadness at the loss of your presence at the library. You see, librarians are the keepers of the flame of knowledge. You have been the culture vulture, a leader who brought books to book clubs, provided safe havens for children who needed a place to go after school, where you showed them books were magic. You kept the intellects of our seniors vital with reading groups, supported the library as a job center for those who had no computer at home. You were an energetic presence in a place where more demands were placed on you, with less funding and less reward, yet without complaint, you continue to enrich the community with your acumen, experience, personality, smile, and brilliant mind. A librarian is a public servant and a private miracle. There is nothing more intimate than the experience of reading. It takes a mind, a soul, and an imagination, and a good book. You have nurtured, for many years, thousands of readers, guiding them, gently suggesting and putting just the right title in the hands of a reader who needed the wisdom more than you could know. I hope you know what you have meant to so many, the least of whom is me. I'm happy we have photos together through the years, images like an Avon catalog from a yard sale, where you say, "Wow, was that really my haircut?" It's more like Adrian. You remain a treasure, and I hope that you will feel on this special day just a smidge of the joy that you have given others. If that is the case, you will be on a high for decades to come. Love you, Charlotte. Adriana.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was really nice. I now I have the privilege of reading another note that was sent from Beth Macy, who wrote Factory Man and more recently Dope Sick. She is an author from Roanoke, Virginia, and she writes, "Dear Charlotte, thanks for all you've done shepherding this fine and special library. I appreciate all librarians, truth keepers, and defenders of democracy and lifelong learning, and I especially appreciate you. Happy reading, my friend. Best, Beth Macy." Would like to ask if anyone from the audience has a comment they would like to make. This is kind of an open forum. If you would.
Yes, Charlotte, I'd like to thank you for the Virginia room. I went there and I found my umpty-ump grandfather, I can't remember which one it is, Hans Jacob Honecker. And we had a book about that thick about him and his journey to America and all of the people. We have 30,000 plus descendants from him now. But I've had many joyful days in the Virginia room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, if you would, when you stand, state your name.
Oh, if you don't mind.
Jim Cooper.
Jim, welcome to the podium.
This could be trouble.
My name is Jim Cooper, and my son Scott lives in LA, and he couldn't be here today, but he wanted to send his best regards to Charlotte. When we lived just up the street here in Abingdon, Scott would come to the library and loved being here, and so he wanted to tell you that. I have 4 words that can describe Charlotte. She has grit and grace and sass and class.
Thank you very much. This is Rachel.
Yeah. This is Rachel.
So when my mom first started at the library here, I can remember coming to an event where there was this great sherbet punch, which was to be served at many of events that I have attended over the years here. The library was a family to me, and it was to my mom. My dad had just passed away, and my mom had been driving all the way to Russell County and trying to keep up with me and for the job that she had over there. So it was really a godsend that this happened. But the greatest godsend is just all the wonderful people that she met along the way. People that helped me, like Ida Patton over there, make it through college essays, and hilarious people that are no longer with us, such as Bob. Everybody remembers Bob from Friends of the Library, who famously, when someone donated 5 or 6 copies of Mary Manilow, or Barry Manilow. Well, see, that wasn't my generation, but when they donated 5 or 6 copies of a Barry Manilow autobiography signed by him to the library book sale, he added in the inscription, "To Rachel, you're a star," to which I was very enthralled, only later to find out that, well, anyways. So I just want to say to my mother that your uncle, or my Uncle Larry, your brother, once famously said to you when you were maybe 7 years old and you'd gone along however many miles back in Dickinson County in the coal fields to get to a public library, "This is the most books you're ever going to see in your life." Oh, boy, was he right. Mom used to go to the bookmobile that came through Dickinson County, and she'd get on there and she'd look at the National Geographic episodes, or the magazines rather, and she thought she wanted to maybe be a airline stewardess so she could fly to these places and possibly see all of the, but she's too short. So I like to brag that she's become a librarian instead, and I think it was a much better choice, and that really was her choice. But I'm so inspired every day by how she's decided to spend her life. The author Annie Dillard once said, "How we spend our days is how we spend our life." And my mom decided to spend her life giving back to the community and setting a great example for me. And it's very special to get to be here with all of you all and hear your stories of the great times that you've had and will continue to have here at the library. And I just thank everybody for coming out. And someone else want to go.
Thank you, Rachel.
My name is Robert Phillips, and I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm Charlotte's brother, so I haven't used the library on a day-to-day basis, but based on using the libraries in Greenville, which is a much bigger city than this, and seeing what's going on here, I think you would compare favorably with many, many, many big cities. And talking to Charlotte many, many times on a private basis, I can assure you that she had the trait that most employers want from an employee. She had the library's interests at heart all the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have had the privilege of working with Charlotte for a number of years, and unlike Carol, when I see one of those nice envelopes come in the mail with that logo, my first thought is, oh, Charlotte's trying to raise more money. Which is a good thing. This library would not be what it is if the Board of Supervisors and the people in this community did not support it with their hearts and their minds and their wallets. We appreciate that. And I have today, if I could ask Charlotte to come up, we asked the community to contribute if they wanted to for a gift for Charlotte's retirement, and remarkably they raised $1,800. Which will be used for Joel Hart to make you a piece of furniture of your choice. And Carol Fields had this plaque made, Charlotte Parsons, in honor of 26 years of significant contributions to the Washington County Library System, Washington County, Virginia community, September 29th, 2019.
Charlotte.
Oh no, Carol, you can't talk anymore.
I'm like Santa Claus. Over the years, we have all looked forward to Tisket Tasket, a literary basket. It was a novel and successful means of providing additional funds for the library. And we know that you participated personally in this event, bidding on baskets and even winning the bid from time to time. It seems only fitting that on this occasion we remember a Tisket a Tasket and present with you with your very own basket, selected specifically for you, and there will be no back and forth on this basket. You automatically win the bid. So please know how much we appreciate you. This is from the Book Lovers Club, and you are one of us.
Gosh, this is from Mr. Montague. Aw. Would you mind bringing it up? Is he here? He is here. Mr. Montague, where you work? This is from Pete Montague.
Oh. Oh, I better not open it here. I think I know what it is. Well, it's something that Mr. Montague and I share an interest in. Let's put it that way. Thank you.
I want to say something. Besides all you've done for the library, when I moved here to Lebanon in like '72, their library was small and dark, and I think it was in the basement of the courthouse or some other building right there. And then I moved over here in '78, and over the years, got to know Charlotte. I remember a conversation when she was deciding to go to UT to become a librarian. And I remember thinking, gosh, there aren't very many librarians around here. That would be hard to get a job. And instead, this brave woman, who in the middle of her mothering years, went ahead and pursued a different career. Not only did you change the library in Lebanon and make so much difference in the library here, but I'm sure that you inspired lots of women to go ahead and follow their dreams. And you did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you. Okay. This podium, by the way, was made for me. If Joel Hart's here, he can take credit. I said I wanted something that you could see my head over. And he accommodated me most graciously, so I will be honored to have a piece of his furniture in my house. I've been up here many a time. I've been up here as the director of the library, and I've always done so very proudly. I've welcomed literally thousands of people into this room over the years, and it has given me pleasure to do so on behalf of the Washington County Library System. Truth be told, that when the room is packed, and it's been more packed than what it is today, I've often been known to say, "Are y'all feeling a little crowded back there? Is it a little hot? Do you think we need a new library? And if so, I think you should let your supervisor know. So just out of the blue, some of y'all got a phone call and said, you know, that library conference rooms really need some help. That's why, okay? Just couldn't miss that opportunity. I'm just going to try to say thank you. That's the only thing that I know how to do at this point. I am beyond being appreciated, being honored by your generosity and by your very, very positive comments. I want to keep them all. I hope I get paper copies of them. I will put them aside and read them on bad days, because it will be very rewarding for me for the rest of my life. I'm really appreciative, as several of you said, especially my daughter saying, to have had the career that I have. It was an accident. A lot of times you do what you do because something else didn't work out. And I intended to be a school librarian, but ended up as a public librarian, and it was a perfect fit for me. I love people. Robert and my family were raised to believe that you have to give back. You don't get here and you get a free ride. You leave the place better than what you found it. And I wanted to do that to this community. As someone said, I did have a vision when I came here. I'd been fortunate enough to travel some, and every place I ever went, I just ended up going to libraries and always being observant about what was going on in other communities. And I wanted that for this community. Granted that we are funded better than most of our neighbors in Southwest Virginia. And I know I have always had my hand out to the Board of Supervisors, but it's not out of lack of appreciation for what you've done. It was because of my commitment to see this place, this library, give back more to the community. We deserve it. We are a mecca of intellectual, stimulated, cultural people in Washington County, and we deserve to have a library that can support that. So that's the reason it was always like, more. I've got a lot of people, like I said, I wanted to thank. And the first one is Pete Montague. Raise your hand back there, Pete. Pete. I love the man and I love Sydney. They have just been the most supportive people for me the entire time I've known them. Pete was the chair of the library board when I was hired. He interviewed me with 7 people around the room, and Pete said, "Where does this fit into your career plans?" And I said, "Well, I intend to be here with blue hair and clubby shoes." I do not have the clubby shoes, but I've been here a long time. And after being on the library board, he went on to be the chair of the foundation board. And his leadership, his reputation in the community has a lot to do with the success that the foundation has had over the years. And the establishment of that foundation is one of the things that I am the proudest of. I'm proud because it's given us some flexibility to do some planning and things with our library, but the most important thing is it says that this community values libraries and they want us to have those extra things that make service important. Overall, I've had a wonderful library board. When you work as a library director, you have 7 bosses. You work at the will of a board. 4 of them could come in and vote you out, and you have no recourse. And I'm not one to just like roll over, you know. But it really took it was never really hard to get along with these library boards. I've always been fortunate to have people serving on the library board that took it seriously. They recognized it as being an honor, and they realized that it was a commitment that they needed to represent the interest of the community by helping me make decisions about the library. How many library board members do we have? Past and present. See how wonderful appreciate it. So there's Bobby Hammond. Yay! Bobby Hammond. I haven't seen. Okay, Bobby Hammond was in that early group too, and just so appreciative. Bobby and Phil and Pete worked so much on those early development of our library, and I appreciate that so much. So we've had wonderful library board members. I've mentioned the Board of Supervisors. I do appreciate your support. I know I don't say that very often. And I do appreciate it, and I hope you understand where I've always been coming from. But I have to say that, as Carol said, you know, I was here, and that was a good thing. And I love people, and I think I've been very fortunate to make good connections with people. But it has truly been the staff that carries off so much success of this library. And Ida Patton said she was honored to be here. I was the luckiest dog in the state. Ida Patton had spent 30-some years helping public libraries, and she was going to come and work with me day after day and teach me everything that she knew. I have truly learned more from Ida than I learned in library school. And to this day, she remains a mentor to me and one of my dearest friends. And then there's Diane. Where's Diane? I don't know what to say about Diane. I don't believe that any employer and employee could have a better relationship than what Diane and I have had. She has been wonderful in regard to the work, but she has been wonderful as a friend. And it's truly the friendships like Diane's and the people in the community that have made this so worthwhile. And if I get any credit for success, 75–80% of it goes to Diane, because she was the one behind the scenes keeping up with everything. And Molly is here. Is Molly in here? The library board has selected an interim director, and that is Molly Schock. I've also been very pleased to be working with Molly for the last 3 years. And I want you all to give her all the support that you have given me, because with Molly and the work that the library board will be doing in the future, everything's gonna be off just dandy. I do want to thank Carol. Carol didn't mention this, but we know each other since we were about 18 years old. And there's another person here, my roommate from college, that we knew each other from 18 years old, but don't ask them any questions about those years, okay? Just don't mention any of that. And it's truly been, so many of my family and friends have had to listen to my tales of woe. Sometimes I was really enthusiastic, sometimes I was just really down in the dumps about what was happening in library land, and my whole family and my friends have always been so appreciative and so supportive of that, and I couldn't have done that kind of thing without them. I should also recognize my friend Steve, who's back there. Steve can wave, because he's given me the courage to say, retirement's a good thing, you'll be okay. And he said that I told him like 6 months ago I would have been retired, and he didn't actually think it was going to happen, so I proved him wrong.
Maybe.
And I'm not as well prepared as a lot of you all that had your written comments. Thank you. I mean, thank the whole community for always being supportive, for being the kind of community that values libraries and that are willing to work together, because it's truly partnerships and collaboration that makes everything easier to accomplish and makes the accomplishments more meaningful and have a longer term impact. And we use these logos in library lands all the time, that libraries change lives, libraries build communities. I believe that. And my hope is that you all will stay just as committed and supportive of the library as you're demonstrating through all the things that the Friends of the Library have done and that they're still doing, the work of the foundation, the Library Advocacy Committee that's getting even more organized, and that you will always just not take for granted the fact that a library is here and the work that a library does to support intellectual freedom, support the right for people to get together and exchange ideas. Never take that for granted, because it's a simple thing for that to fade away, and it depends on all of you making it happen. And thank you all for letting me make it happen.
I want to end by asking for a round of applause for Carol Fields, who was the instigator, put all of the groups together, the board, the Friends of the Library, the book clubbers, the foundation, and started this. Without her, this program would not have taken place. Oh, yes. And I know that some of you all might not have had an opportunity to voice your appreciation of Charlotte. There are some thank you notes out. If any of you would like to, please take one and write Charlotte a note that she can keep. Yeah, there's a basket right beside it. You can put them in. I want to thank you all for coming today and giving Charlotte this tribute, well-deserved tribute. I want to invite you all to the main library. I have been instructed that I am to escort Charlotte into where the food is so that she does not get trapped in this room. So if you would join us for the refreshments that the Book Lovers Club has provided for us in the main library. Okay. Yeah. Just does what I...